Hi friends, it's Terry Gaines. In this video, I'm going to share several cards I created using the Stylish Sketches stamp set, which is free during Sale-a-bration with a qualifying order. Sale-a-bration ends August 31st, and there are other products you can receive free with qualifying orders. They are only available while supplies last, so the best way to see the availability of the product is in the online store. In the comment section of this video and in my blog post, I'll have links to the online store. Along with the Stylish Sketches stamp set, I'm going to be using a stamp set from the annual catalog called Amazing Year for the sentiments. I'm going to use the For You and the Happy Birthday from this sentiment. I'm going to use a couple die sets from the annual catalog, the Stylish Shape dies, along with the Rectangle Decal dies. Both are in the annual catalog. The embossing folder I'm going to use on some of the samples is the Timber 3D folder. This is in the annual catalog, and it is also a product that's available with qualifying purchases right now during Sale-a-bration. And the designer series paper I'm going to be using is from the mini catalog. It is on page 25. It is the Boughs of Holly designer series paper. It is a beautiful designer series paper. You receive 2 each of 6 double-sided prints. One side of the print has these absolutely beautiful designs for your holiday cards, just in rich, beautiful colors. You have 3 poinsettia sheets. You have a couple sheets that have some greenery on them, along with one sheet that has these pretty pine trees on them. When you turn the paper over, you have background papers. I'm mainly going to be using the background side for the card samples I'm going to share with you, along with the pine trees on this side. This is such a versatile pack of designer series paper you can use for many different items. I'm going to be coloring in I colored in my images with the blends. I stamped with the Memento ink and colored them in. I'm going to share the colors I used on a PDF that you can download from my blog. In the comment section, you'll have a direct link to my blog post where you'll be able to download the PDF that I share how I colored in my images. I use card sketches for my card layouts. For a card sketch, the card base can be either an 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4 and folded or folded in half. Or you can have a card base that is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5.5 and folded or folded in half. You can decide which orientation you want your card to be. Each card sketch is going to have the dimension of the layers. For a decorative image, it can be any size or shape, and if there's a bow, that's optional. So I'm going to share 3 cards for card sketch number 4. These card sketches were created for my team event that we have a weekly card sketch. And the first card I'm going to share with you, I did add another layer. I have a 5 1/4 by 4 layer that I texturized with the timber folder. My designer series paper is 3 by 4. Instead of putting the bow down here, I wrap some linen thread around the card and have the bow on the side. As I mentioned, I share the colors I use to color in my images, and then I use the Stylish Shape dies for the For You, and then I trim the banner straight to put it on the edge. So that's one card, was card sketch 4. Here's another card. For this card, I stamped the designer series paper. The designer series paper I stamped is this print. I just randomly stamped this image on and the 3 by 4 designer series paper, and I did add a bow, and this is a rectangle. As I mentioned, I have the colors that I shared, or I share the colors. This is the light cherry cobbler, and then the light and dark old olive. For this third card, for this card sketch, I actually folded the card base and then ran it through the Timber 3D folder. Then I added a basic white to the inside to sign the card. And then I cut out these images with the rectangle decal and popped that up with dimensionals. I wrapped the linen thread around just like I did on the first card I shared. So those 3 cards were created with card sketch 4. I also have a card sketch number 85 that I'm sharing with these next 3 cards. This has a layer that's 5.5 by 4 1/4. So I used the designer series paper for that layer, and then I just put it on the basic white card. I have designer series paper for this 5 by 1.5 inch layer, and then behind or on top of that I have some pine trees. I used the evergreen border punch to create that. I'm going to quickly show you how this punch works. You take your paper and you put it against the edge of your cardstock and you make your first cut. So you make your first punch, and then you're going to turn this or move this and line up your two trees to this silver outline here. You want to match up your trees right like so, and then make your next punch. Let's see. And then you keep doing that, and then you're going to have your tree border as long as you want for your project. I love that. It just adds a little bit to this card. For the next card, I use the designer series paper that is this red print and stamped the image along with the little speckles on here. I stamped and fussy cut out 3 of those and popped 2 of them up with dimensionals, and I've colored those in. And my 5 by 1.5 layer is basic black cardstock. For this layer, or for this one also, I use designer series paper. For the soft suede cardstock, I texturized that with the textured folder. So your layers that are identified can be designer series paper, they can be stamped cardstock, stamped designer series paper, or texturized. So there's so much versatility when using a card sketch. So the next card sketch I'm going to share with you is card sketch 79. For this card sketch, we have a 5.5 by 4. So we have a little bit of card base shown. So my cards are on basic white card base. And for this card, I used the Evening Evergreen, added some speckled using Memento ink, randomly stamped that, and then ran it through the timber folder. I'm using different designer series papers, and I use the stylish shape dies for my added layers. So these layers are all identified with dimensions if you're going to cut them out. Here's another card that I used the Evening Evergreen. I stamped the image randomly on the cardstock and then layered that. And then for the designer series paper, for this one, I also stamped the same images. And then for these 3, I stamped the speckle and then used the stylish shape banners. For this third card on this card sketch, I texturized the soft suede cardstock with the timber folder. I also texturized all of the cardstock pieces, and the beauty of the rectangle, the deckled rectangle dies, most of them, they are the same width that is shown on these dimensions. So there is one that is 1 inch. So I used that for these 2 pieces. There's a die that's got a 1 1/4. I used that die for this piece. And there's one that's approximately 1 3/4. And then I cut that out. So using the decal rectangle dies, you can really have fun with this card sketch layout. I have 2 bonus cards. These cards are using designer series paper that's 2 inches in width. This one is 5.5 by 2 inch. This one's 2 by 5.5. Both of these I used the same image. This one I used the stylish shape dies and texturized this card base. Added another layer here. I do not have card sketches for these, but my PDF will include those cards. So my PDF is going to give you the card sketch, the 3 photos, the list of supplies, code number, and what card, along with some assembly details. One page will have the colors I used for the 2 ducks. Oh, this is my last page. One page is going to have the colors I used for the fox, along with the samples. And then this card sketch has for this image the colors I used. And then I also have the bonus cards that I included. And then this will be the link to this video, so you can download the PDF, save it on your computer, and click that link to come right to this video to see more details about these projects. I would love to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the red box under the video, then select the red bell to be notified when I upload new videos. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this project. Take care and happy creating.